On a bitter winter night, when temperatures dropped well below freezing, a tiny cry echoed through an empty alley where someone had left a newborn baby wrapped only in a thin blanket beside a dumpster. But sometimes angels come with four paws and golden fur, and on this night, a mother's desperate act would lead to a miracle that would touch hearts around the world. Luna, the golden retriever, was on her evening walk with her owner Sarah when her gentle nature transformed into something more urgent, something that spoke of destiny and divine timing. Her powerful nose catching a scent that made her pull against her leash with unprecedented determination. Before we continue this incredible story of unconditional love and the remarkable bond between a golden retriever and the baby. She refused to let go. If you believe in the power of animal heroes and want to witness more moments that remind us that love knows no boundaries, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us share these extraordinary tales of hope and rescue with the world. Sarah had never seen Luna behave this way. In their 3 years together, the gentle golden retriever typically moved with easy grace through their evening walks. But tonight, something had changed. The dog's muscles tense, her nose working overtime. Her usual calm demeanor replaced by desperate urgency as she pulled Sarah toward the narrow alley between Madison Street's aging buildings. "Luna, what is it?" Sarah's voice carried concern rather than command. Years of working as a NICU nurse had taught her to trust instincts, both human and animal. But Luna's only response was to pull harder, her warm breath visible in the freezing air. As she forged ahead, the temperature had dropped to dangerous levels, the kind of cold that made Sarah's bones ache, the kind that could kill if you were exposed too long. The sound was so faint Sarah almost missed it, a tiny mewling cry barely distinguishable from the winter wind. But Luna had heard it, had probably been hearing it all along, her powerful nose leading them unerringly toward the dumpster that hulked in the shadows like a metal giant. Sarah fumbled with her phone's flashlight, her hand shaking from more than just cold. As Luna's behavior grew more frantic, the beam of light caught something pale against the filthy ground, a bundle of fabric that seemed to move slightly on its own. Sarah's heart stopped, then started again, racing with professional instinct, warring with human horror, as she realized what she was seeing. But Luna was already there, her body curling protectively around the abandoned infant, her warm fur creating an instant barrier against the killing cold. Oh God! Sarah's training kicked in as she dropped to her knees beside them, her fingers finding the pulse point on the baby's tiny neck. Weak but present, her phone already dialing 911 as she shrugged off her coat to add another layer of warmth. "I need an ambulance," she barked into the phone, rattling off the location with emergency room precision. "Newborn infant exposure case requiring immediate response." Luna whined softly, her body trembling, not from cold but from some deeper emotion, as she pressed closer to the baby, her own body heat helping to fight off hypothermia. Sarah's experienced eyes noted the umbilical cord roughly cut. The infant couldn't be more than hours old, the thin blanket sodden with melted snow, offering almost no protection against temperatures that had already claimed several lives this winter. The baby's cry strengthened slightly in response to Luna's warmth, tiny fingers flexing against golden fur as if recognizing safety. Sarah's medical training cataloged vital signs, even as her heart ached with questions. Who could do this? Why here? Why tonight? But Luna's focus never wavered, her gentle tongue carefully cleaning the baby's face, her body curled to block the wind. Her presence somehow both protective and nurturing. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer, but Luna showed no sign of anxiety, her usual fear of loud noises completely forgotten in her self-appointed mission. When Sarah tried to lift the baby for a better assessment, Luna moved with her, maintaining constant contact as if understanding that her warmth was the only thing standing between this tiny life and the killing cold. "Stay with us, little one," Sarah murmured, her voice catching as the infant's hand caught a fistful of Luna's fur, the dog responding with a soft rumble of comfort that seemed to vibrate through. Both of them, help is coming. But Sarah knew, looking at Luna's determined expression, that help was already here, had been here from the moment her golden retriever picked up that scent. The ambulance's flashing lights painted the alley in surreal. Shades of red and blue as paramedics swarmed around them, their practiced efficiency momentarily stuttering at the sight of the golden retriever's fierce devotion. "We need to take the baby," one of them said, reaching forward. But Luna's soft growl made him pause. "Let her come." Sarah found herself saying, "She's the only reason this child is still alive." What followed was unprecedented. Luna riding in the ambulance, her body pressed against the tiny form in the incubator, her presence somehow calming the baby through the initial examinations, Sarah holding her leash with trembling hands as she relayed vital information to the emergency team, her medical background helping to bridge the gap between standard procedure and this most unusual situation. News cameras were already gathering outside the hospital, drawn by police radio chatter about the miracle rescue. But Sarah's focus remained on Luna, watching as her gentle companion maintained her vigil even as medical professionals worked. Around her, the dog's presence seeming to fill some essential need in the tiny patient, whose vital signs grew stronger with each passing minute. Later, when the initial crisis had passed, when the baby was stabilized in the NICU, when police photographers had documented everything and taken statements, Sarah sat in the hospital corridor with Luna's head in her lap. "You knew," she whispered, scratching behind the golden ears that had first caught that desperate cry. "You knew exactly what needed to be done." Luna's eyes met hers, full of a wisdom that transcended human understanding, while somewhere above them a winter storm raged on, unaware that its plans for tragedy had been thwarted by a dog's love and a nurse's trust in animal instincts. The NICU's night shift staff had seen many things in their years of service, but none quite like this. A golden retriever maintaining silent vigil beside an incubator, her eyes never leaving the tiny form within. Sarah sat nearby, watching as her companion demonstrated a gentleness that brought tears to veteran nurses' eyes, understanding better than anyone the depths of Luna's maternal instinct. It had been just 3 weeks since Luna had lost her own puppies, a rare late-life pregnancy that had ended in heartbreak. Sarah still remembered the way Luna had searched the house afterward, looking for the puppies that hadn't survived, had watched her faithful companion sink into a depression that seemed bottomless until tonight, until destiny or divine intervention had led them down that particular alley. She lost her own babies. Sarah explained softly to Dr. Chen, the NICU specialist who had been observing Luna's unusual behavior with professional interest. Premature labor, complications. The doctor nodded understanding, dawning in her eyes as she watched Luna press closer to the incubator when the baby made the slightest sound. "Sometimes," she said, "the heart finds its own ways to heal." Memories of that difficult night flooded back as Sarah watched Luna's protective vigilance, the emergency trip to the veterinary hospital, the desperate attempts to save the puppies, the gentle dog's confused grief. In the days that followed, Sarah had worried about depression, had consulted animal behaviorists, had tried everything to help Luna process her loss, never imagining that healing would come in such an unexpected form. The baby's vital signs told a remarkable story, temperature stabilizing despite the severe exposure, oxygen levels improving steadily. Dr. Chen made notes in the chart, periodically glancing at Luna with something like wonder. "In 30 years of neonatal medicine," she admitted, "I've never seen anything quite like this." She gestured to the monitors. "It's as if the baby knows she's being protected." Hospital policy typically prohibited animals in the NICU, but exceptions were already being made. Rules bent by the undeniable evidence of Luna's positive impact. "She's cleaner than most humans," Sarah pointed out. unnecessary, given that the staff had already witnessed Luna's fastidious nature. Her careful attention to the sterile protocols she seemed to instinctively understand, and her presence is clearly therapeutic throughout. The night other parents in the NICU watched in amazement as Luna maintained her post, occasionally reaching through the incubator's ports to gently clean the baby's face or press closer when monitors indicated distress, her actions so perfectly. Attuned to the infant's needs, that several nurses began taking notes, discussing the possibility of a formal therapy dog program. "Tell me about Luna?" Dr. Chen asked during a quiet moment between rounds. Sarah smiled, remembering the day 3 years ago when she'd first met the golden retriever at a local shelter. She was a therapy dog originally, she explained, worked with children until her owner passed away. That history seemed especially relevant. Now, watching Luna's natural ability to comfort and protect the police investigation continued in the background. Detectives interviewing Sarah about the discovery, collecting evidence from the scene. But Luna remained focused solely on her charge. Her dedication, unwavering even when exhaustion clearly pulled at her, just like a new mother, one of the nurses observed, watching Luna fight sleep to maintain her vigil. She's not going to rest until she's sure the baby's safe. Sarah's phone buzzed periodically with messages from local news stations seeking interviews about the miraculous rescue, but she deflected them all, knowing that Luna's story, particularly the recent loss of her puppies, was too personal, too precious to become media fodder. Yet she couldn't help but see the beauty in how life had brought healing to both Luna and the abandoned infant, each filling a void in the other's world. Dawn brought new staff, new challenges, new tests. But Luna adapted to each change with remarkable intelligence, learning the rhythms of NICU care, anticipating the nurse's needs, seeming to understand exactly when to move aside and when to stay close, her presence becoming so natural that the staff began consulting the monitors less and Luna's reactions more. "Watch this," Dr. Chen demonstrated, pointing to how Luna's behavior changed slightly. Before the monitors indicated any issue, "She can smell chemical changes in the baby's body," she explained to the fascinated nurses. "Changes our machines only detect later." Sarah wasn't surprised, having witnessed Luna's extraordinary sensitivity during her own late-night anxiety attacks, but seeing it documented in a medical setting felt like validation. Mid-morning brought a visit from the hospital administrator, initially concerned about liability issues, but one look at Luna's gentle care, at the improving vital signs, at the way other NICU parents watched with hope, changed the conversation entirely. "We need to formalize this," he said, already thinking ahead. "Create a proper therapy dog program built on what we're witnessing here." Social services arrived to begin their investigation, but even they were affected by Luna's dedication. The hardened caseworker softening as she watched the dog gentle guide the social workers. "Hand to the proper spot for soothing the baby. Animals know," she said, her voice rough with emotion. "They know where healing is needed most." Sarah nodded, understanding that Luna's impact would reach far beyond this one night, this one rescue throughout. The day Sarah observed subtle changes in Luna, the deep sadness that had haunted her eyes since losing her puppies, gradually replaced by purpose, by love, by the fierce dedication of a mother's heart. Remembering the veterinarian's words about how animals process grief differently, how they need new bonds to heal, Sarah watched that theory prove itself in the most beautiful way. As evening approached, marking 24 hours since the rescue, Luna finally allowed herself to sleep, but only after carefully checking the baby one last time. Her body curled as close to the incubator as possible, her ears still alert to every tiny sound. Sarah watched her faithful companion finally rest, thinking about paths crossed and lives saved, about how sometimes the deepest wounds become the very things that enable us to help others heal. News of the miracle rescue spread through the hospital like a wave of hope, changing the atmosphere of even the most challenging units. The story of a golden retriever who had saved an abandoned baby, touching something deep in everyone who heard. Luna's presence in the NICU quickly became more than just an exception to policy. It became a symbol of healing that transcended medical understanding. Her temperatures completely normalized, Dr. Chen announced, reviewing the morning charts, her experienced eyes noting improvements that defied typical recovery timelines, and her oxygen saturation is better than we'd expect. The baby, whom the nurses had started calling Hope, grew stronger by the hour, her tiny hand often reaching out to touch Luna's fur through the incubator's ports, as if drawing strength from the connection. Zara watched as Luna's influence expanded beyond just one infant other. NICU parents began asking if the gentle dog could visit their babies at the hospital. Administration fast-tracking approval for a formal therapy program after witnessing the remarkable effects of Luna's presence. She knows exactly who needs her most, Nurse Martinez observed as Luna paused beside each incubator offering comfort. With perfect intuition, Detective Johnson returned with questions about the investigation, but found himself distracted by Luna's work. "I've seen a lot in 20 years on the force," he admitted, watching the dog gentle nuzzle a premature infant through an incubator port. But nothing quite like this, Sarah understood, sharing how Luna's recent loss had somehow prepared her for this role. How tragedy had transformed into purposed local media coverage turned national as video of Luna's gentle care went viral. Medical journals requesting documentation of her impact on recovery rates. Dr. Chen already gathering data for a paper on animal-assisted therapy in neonatal care. We're seeing consistent improvements in vital signs during her visits, she explained to the hospital board, and the parents' stress levels decreased significantly. Hope's own recovery became a testament to the power of unconditional love, her weight increasing steadily, her responses growing stronger, her cry becoming more robust. But it was her quiet moments with Luna that touched hearts most deeply, the way she would calm instantly at the dog's presence, the way her tiny fingers would curl into golden fur, the way both of them seemed to heal each other. We found something interesting in her blood work, Dr. Chen shared with Sarah one evening. Her cortisol levels dropped significantly when Luna's near. She showed charts comparing stress hormones before and after the dog's visits. It's as if she remembers who saved her. Sarah watched Luna respond to a monitor's subtle change before the nurses noticed she remembers too. Police continued their investigation canvass of the area security camera footage, interviews with witnesses. But Luna remained focused, solely on her mission, expanding her rounds to include other units where children faced their own battles. She's not just a therapy dog, the pediatric oncology nurse noted. She's a guardian angel with fur, watching as the golden retriever brought smiles to faces that had forgotten how Sarah's phone filled with messages from animal therapy organizations requesting interviews, offering certification programs, wanting to understand how Luna had developed such extraordinary abilities. But Sarah knew some things couldn't be taught, couldn't be certified, couldn't be explained by anything except love and loss. And the mysterious ways healing chose to work through Willing Hartshope's case attracted attention from child welfare advocates. Her story becoming a catalyst for discussions about support for desperate mothers, about safe haven, laws about the need for better resources. But in the NICU, Luna remained focused on the immediate, the personal, the vital work of helping one tiny life at a time, her gentle presence, a reminder that sometimes the smallest acts of love could have the largest impact. "Watch this," Nurse Martinez called excitement in her voice as Hope responded to Luna's presence by lifting her head, a milestone. Reached days earlier than expected, Dr. Chen documented everything. Her initial skepticism about animal therapy transformed by witnessing Luna's impact firsthand. "We need to rethink our entire approach to neonatal care," she admitted. Watching the dog work her magic, their hospitals began reaching out requesting information about starting similar programs. Sarah finding herself suddenly in demand as a consultant, while Luna's gentle example inspired a movement in pediatric care. She's changing how we think about healing, the hospital administrator acknowledged, watching as the therapy dog program expanded. New four-legged volunteers being carefully screened and trained. Hope's strength grew daily, her cry becoming more demanding, her personality emerging, but it was her special bond with Luna that continued to amaze the medical staff. The way she would track the dog's movement with her eyes, the way she seemed to save her biggest smiles for her furry guardian, the way she reached for golden fur with growing coordination. "She knows," Dr. Chen said softly. "She knows she's alive because of Luna." Sarah observed all of this from her new office in the pediatric wing, the hospital, having created a position for her coordinating animal therapy programs, watching as Luna's miracle expanded, touching more lives, inspiring more healing, drawing more light into places that had known only clinical shadows. Her faithful companion's loss transformed into a gift that kept giving, touching lives in ways no one could have predicted. Evenings found them still in the NICU. Luna maintaining her special vigil over Hope, while extending her love to other babies, other families, other needs. Sarah watching as her gentle golden retriever demonstrated again and again that sometimes the most powerful medicine couldn't be measured in milliliters or monitored by machines, but could be found in the silent language of love spoken through soft fur and gentle eyes. Detective Johnson arrived at the hospital on a quiet Tuesday morning, his face carrying the weight of discovery. Sarah knew before he spoke that they'd found Hope's mother, the investigation having finally pieced together the desperate circumstances that had led to that cold night by the dumpster. Luna, sensing the tension, lifted her head from her usual spot beside Hope's incubator, her eyes watching the detective with careful attention. "She's 16, Johnson said quietly, showing Sarah a photo. "Hello, I'm Amy Parker, honor student, volleyball team volunteer at the local animal shelter." He paused, watching Luna gently nuzzle Hope through the incubator port. Scared, terrified, really hiding the pregnancy from everyone, including herself. The story emerged, piece by piece, security cameras, catching glimpses of a young girl in crisis, teachers noting behavioral changes, friends remembering subtle signs they'd missed. Dr. Chen joined them, her usual professional demeanor softening as she learned about Amy's situation. "She's at juvenile detention," Johnson explained, "but she's asking about the baby, wants to know if." He trailed off as Luna suddenly stood, moving to the window that overlooked the hospital parking lot, where a police car had just arrived. "Sometimes," Sarah said, watching her dog's reaction, "Luna knows what's needed before we do." Amy Parker looked younger than 16 as officers led her into the NICU, her face pale, her hands trembling, her eyes immediately finding the incubator where Hope lay. But it was Luna who moved first, approaching the terrified teenager with the same gentle care. She showed the babies, pressing against Amy's legs until the girl's knees buckled, security officers catching her as she sank to the floor. "I'm sorry," Amy's words came between sobs, her whole body shaking as Luna pressed closer, offering the comfort she seemed to instinctively know was needed. "I was so scared, so cold, I couldn't think." Sarah knelt beside them, watching as Luna's presence seemed to create a safe space for truth. "I didn't want to leave her, but I didn't know what else to do." The golden retriever's gentle eyes held no judgment, only understanding. Dr. Chen stepped forward, medical charts in hand. "Your daughter is doing well," she said carefully, choosing present tense over past, watching Amy's reaction. "She's strong, growing, meeting all her milestones." Luna guided Amy's hand to Hope's incubator, the teenager's fingers trembling as they touched the clear plastic. "She has your eyes," Sarah added softly, seeing the same deep blue that had captured hearts across socially Media Detective Johnson conferred quietly with the officers, while social services arrived their usual protocols, softening in the face of Luna's obvious impact on both mother and child. "We need to talk about options," the social worker began, but Luna's soft growl surprised everyone, the dog's usually gentle nature turning protective as she positioned herself between Hope's incubator and the approaching officials. "Wait," Sarah said, understanding Luna's reaction. "Just wait." She watched as Amy slowly stood Luna, supporting her movement, as the teenager approached her daughter properly for the first time. "Hi, baby," Amy whispered, her voice catching. "I've thought about you every second." Hope responded to her mother's voice, turning toward the sound while Luna moved between them, creating a bridge between past mistakes and future possibilities. The story emerged slowly, Amy's fear of disappointing her single mother working 2 jobs to support them, the shame that had kept her silent, the panic that had overwhelmed rational thought on that bitter night. "I couldn't go home," she explained, stroking Luna's fur, finding comfort in the repetitive motion. "Couldn't face Mom, couldn't face anyone." But Luna's steady presence seemed to help the words flow. Healing with each revelation, Sarah shared Luna's story then about lost puppies and second chances, about how tragedy could sometimes lead to purpose. She found hope because she needed healing too. She explained watching understanding dawn in Amy's tear-filled eyes. "Sometimes we have to trust that love finds its own ways to work." The teenager nodded, clutching Luna's fur, as if it anchored her to hope itself. Dr. Chen presented medical options while social services outlined legal pathways, but it was Luna who seemed to guide the conversation, her attention divided equally between Hope and Amy, her presence somehow making difficult discussions easier, creating space for possibility rather than judgment. "She saved my baby," Amy realized suddenly, looking at Luna with new understanding. "When I couldn't, she did." News of Amy's discovery brought fresh media attention, but the hospital staff formed a protective barrier, allowing the young mother privacy to bond with her daughter Luna, maintaining her vigilant presence as Amy learned to change diapers, to read monitoring equipment, to trust herself with the precious life she had nearly lost. Sarah watching as healing touched both mother and child. Amy's own mother arrived later that day, her anger and disappointment crumbling at the sight of her daughter's tears, at the reality of her granddaughter's tiny, perfect presence, at Luna's gentle insistence that she too join their growing circle of healing. "We'll figure this out," she whispered, holding Amy close, all of us together, while Luna watched with satisfied eyes, her mission expanding to include one more heart in need of healing. Social services began working on a plan that would allow Amy to finish school, to maintain her relationship with Hope, to build a future that included both education and motherhood. The hospital administrator offering support through their new Young Mothers program, inspired by Hope's story. "Sometimes," he said, watching Luna guide Amy through another feeding, "miracles need a little help to keep working." As evening settled over the NICU, Amy sat in the rocking chair beside Hope's incubator, her fingers entwined in Luna's fur, her face showing exhaustion, but also peace. "I thought I had to choose," she said softly, "between being someone's daughter and being someone's mother." Luna pressed closer, offering warmth and wisdom beyond words. "But maybe," Amy continued, watching Hope sleep, "maybe love makes room for both." The NICU's private family room became a sanctuary of second chances as Amy learned to be a mother under Luna's watchful guidance, the golden retriever's presence somehow making every new challenge less daunting. Sarah watched from the doorway as the teenage girl who had once been too terrified to face her pregnancy now confidently changed her daughter's tiny diaper. Luna offering gentle encouragement with each small victory. "She doesn't judge," Amy explained to her mother Patricia, who visited daily between shifts at the diner, watching in amazement as her daughter transformed under Luna's influence. When I'm scared or unsure, she just stays close, like she knows exactly what I need. Hope, responding to both her mother's growing confidence and Luna's continued protection, thrived, gaining weight, reaching milestones that impressed even Dr. Chen. Sarah's role evolved beyond just Luna's owner, becoming a mentor to Amy, sharing her nursing experience, but also her understanding of how healing sometimes required more than just medical care. "I was terrified too," she admitted, telling Amy about the night Luna lost her puppies. "Sometimes the hardest moments lead us to where we're meant to be." The teenager nodded, understanding. As she watched Luna demonstrate perfect maternal instincts, the hospital's Young Mothers program took shape around Amy's needs classes scheduled around her schoolwork support groups, forming in the evening hours when Patricia could be there too. Luna attending every session, her calm presence helping other teenage mothers find courage to share their stories. She makes it feel safe. One young mom observed, "Like nothing we say could make her love us less." Dr. Chen documented everything approaching Hope's case with scientific precision, but even she found herself moved by the subtle miracles that unfolded daily. "Watch how Luna positions herself," she pointed out to her medical students, always between the door and the baby, always aware of both mother and child's needs. The dog's protective instincts becoming a case study in natural therapeutic intervention. Amy's return to school brought new challenges, but the hospital staff rallied around her, creating a schedule that allowed her to attend classes while spending crucial bonding time with Hope. Luna somehow managing to divide her time between their private room and her expanding therapy duties throughout the hospital. "She's teaching us all about unconditional love, nurse," Martinez observed, watching the dog guide another nervous young mother through her first feeding. Patricia struggled with her own healing, coming to terms with how she had missed the signs of her daughter's pregnancy. "I was so busy trying to keep us afloat," she confessed during a quiet moment with Sarah. Luna immediately moving to offer comfort, pressing against Patricia's legs until she knelt to embrace the dog. "I forgot to really see her." But Luna's forgiveness seemed to make self-forgiveness possible. Hope's responses grew stronger each day, her cries more confident, her smiles more frequent. But it was her special bond with Luna that continued to amaze everyone. The way she would calm instantly at the dog's approach, the way her tiny hands would reach for golden fur, the way she seemed to save her brightest smiles for the creature who had saved her life. Some connections, Dr. Chen mused, transcend ordinary explanation. Social services remained involved, but their approach softened, shaped by what they witnessed in the family room, where a teenage mother, a premature baby, and a golden retriever demonstrated daily how love could rewrite expected outcomes. "We're adjusting our protocols," the caseworker admitted. "Sometimes standard procedure needs to bow to exceptional circumstances." Amy's grades improved, her teachers offering support, her classmates rallying around her story. Luna's influence extending even into the high school, where students organized fundraisers for the Young Mothers program. She saved more than just hope that night. Amy realized, watching her community come together, she saved all of us. Sarah understood, seeing how her gentle companion's love continued to ripple outward. Patricia's diner customers began leaving extra tips specifically to help with Hope's care. The local community embracing the story of second chances that had started with a dog's determination to save a life. "We're all connected now," Patricia said, wonder in her voice as she watched Luna guide Amy through another developmental milestone, all because this angel found my granddaughter. The hospital administrator approved plans for a permanent Young Mother's wing, complete with special accommodations for therapy. "Animals, Luna's legacy," he called it, watching the golden retriever make her rounds, proving that sometimes the best medicine doesn't come in bottles. Sarah smiled, seeing how her companion's tragedy had transformed into triumph, how loss had become. Legacy evening brought quiet moments in the family room. Amy studying while Hope slept, Luna maintaining her vigil, but now also helping Patricia learn grandmother duties. The 3 generations of women finding healing through the dog's gentle guidance. "I used to think love had limits," Amy said softly, watching her mother cradle Hope. But Luna shows us every day that it doesn't. Sarah observed it all, understanding that sometimes miracles didn't just happen once, but kept unfolding, kept touching. Lives kept creating ripples of change that transformed entire communities, watching as her gentle golden retriever demonstrated again and again that the purest healing came through love that forgave, that included, that made room for imperfect humans to learn perfect love. The juvenile court judge peered over her glasses at the unusual assembly before her bench. Amy sitting straight-backed and determined, Patricia holding Hope, while Luna lay perfectly still at their feet, her therapy dog certification vest gleaming. New, but her dedication already legendary throughout the courthouse. "This is an unprecedented case," Judge Martinez began, but her stern expression softened as Luna raised her head, meeting her eyes with gentle wisdom. "Your Honor," the prosecutor stood his prepared arguments about teenage responsibility and consequences, faltering as Luna moved to press against Amy's legs, offering silent support. Given the extraordinary circumstances and the remarkable progress shown, he paused watching. Hope reached for her mother with complete trust. "The state wishes to dismiss all criminal charges." The courtroom stayed silent except for Luna's soft sigh of satisfaction. Sarah sat behind them, remembering the night that had started it all, now transformed into something larger than anyone could have imagined. The hospital's Young Mothers program had become a model for others. Luna's influence extending far beyond one rescue, inspiring changes in how the medical community approached neonatal care. "She's revolutionizing therapeutic intervention," Dr. Chen had testified earlier, presenting data about improved recovery rates. "We're not just here to address legal consequences," Judge Martinez continued, "but to establish precedent for how similar cases might be handled." She looked at the thick file of letters from hospital staff, community members, even other young mothers touched by Luna's work. "Sometimes justice requires us to see beyond traditional boundaries." Luna's tail thumped quietly against the courtroom floor, as if agreeing. The hearing transformed into a discussion about support systems, Amy's education plan, now including both college preparatory classes and parenting courses, while Patricia's Diner had become an unofficial community center for young mothers. "Luna taught us that healing happens better together," Amy explained, her voice strong as she detailed their progress. Hope growing steadily stronger under the shared care of family and community legal guardianship was formalized. Patricia and Amy sharing responsibility, while Sarah and Luna received special designation as therapeutic support, ensuring their continued involvement. "The dog stays with the baby," Judge Martinez declared, unnecessarily watching. Luna guided Hope's tiny hand to Amy's cheek. During a quiet moment, some bonds transcend legal definition. Hospital administrators presented their expanded programs inspired by Luna's work. Therapy dog teams now in training for NICUS across the country. "She's changing the standard of care," the chief of pediatrics explained, showing how infant recovery rates improved with animal assistance. What started as one rescue has become a movement. Luna remained focused on Hope, but her legacy grew with each presentation. Amy's school principal spoke about educational support systems being implemented for other teenage mothers, inspired by how his student had thrived with proper assistance. "We're not just saving one future," he testified. "We're creating pathways for others to follow." Luna's work at the school had already helped identify 2 other pregnant teenagers, connecting them with resources. Before Crisis Point, social services revised their protocols, incorporating animal therapy into family reunification processes, Luna shows us daily how healing happens. The caseworker admitted describing how the Golden Retriever's presence helped facilitate difficult conversations, created safe spaces for truth-telling, guided broken families toward wholeness. She's rewriting our understanding of therapeutic intervention. Patricia's testimony brought tears to many eyes as she described her own transformation. "I was angry at first," she admitted, "but Luna taught us about unconditional love." She looked at her daughter and granddaughter with pride. "Now we're stronger together than we ever were apart." The Golden Retriever's tail thumped steadily against the floor, creating a gentle rhythm that seemed to underscore each truth. Dr. Chen presented medical documentation, Hope's progress exceeding all expectations, her bond with both mother and therapy dog creating optimal conditions for development. "We're establishing new protocols based on what we've learned," she explained, showing how other infants in the NICU improved when paired with therapy animals. Luna's intuitive understanding of infant needs is revolutionizing our approach. Sarah watched it all unfold, remembering the broken-hearted dog who had lost her puppies, now transformed into a healing presence, touching countless lives. "Sometimes the deepest wounds become the greatest gifts," she whispered, as Luna guided another perfect interaction between mother and child, the dog's own loss, creating capacity for understanding that transcended human explanation. Judge Martinez's final ruling came with unprecedented provisions for continued therapeutic support, legal recognition of Luna's role, and establishment of a foundation in her name to ensure that what began here continues to grow. She declared, watching the Golden Retriever maintain her gentle vigilance. Some miracles deserve to be preserved and replicated. As they left the courthouse, Hope, sleeping peacefully in Amy's arms, Luna leading them through gathered media with protective precision, Sarah realized they had witnessed more than just legal proceedings. They had seen the formal recognition of love's power to transform tragedy into triumph, to turn mistakes into missions to create healing that rippled outward, touching life after life. "She saved us all," Amy said softly as they walked into sunshine. Luna maintaining her position between them and the world, not just that night, but every day since. Patricia nodded, adjusting Hope's blanket, while Sarah watched her gentle companion continue her work of guiding, protecting, healing, understanding that sometimes the greatest legal victories came not through argument, but through love's quiet, persistent presence. 6 months after the court hearing, the hospital's new young mother's wing buzzed with activity, Hope now crawling confidently across specially padded floors, while Luna supervised a group of teenage mothers and their infants, the space designed around the proven benefits of animal therapy, Amy among them, sharing her story with newcomers, her voice strong with hard-earned wisdom. "It starts with believing you deserve support," she said, while Luna moved among them, offering comfort where needed. Most Sarah watched from her office doorway, the program she now directed, having expanded beyond anyone's expectations. 5 therapy dogs in training, following Luna's example, their handlers learning from the Golden Retriever's intuitive understanding of infant needs. She wrote the manual without saying a word, Dr. Chen often remarked, documenting how Luna's methods had revolutionized their approach to neonatal care. Another one last night, Nurse Martinez reported during their morning meeting. 16-year-old came in scared, but asking for help. She smiled, watching Luna's ears prick up at the news, said she saw Hope's story online, knew there was a place she could turn. The prevention of abandonment had become their greatest success. Story, Luna's influence, creating ripples of change that reached far beyond hospital walls. Patricia's Diner had transformed too now, hosting weekly support groups in the evening hours after closing young mothers gathering to share meals and stories. While their babies slept in specially designed bassinets, Luna moving between tables offering comfort and connection. She remembers everyone's story, Amy observed, watching her faithful companion give extra attention to a particularly struggling mother knows exactly who needs her most. Hope's own development had exceeded all expectations, her early trauma seemingly erased by the constant love that surrounded her. Dr. Chen's research papers documenting the remarkable impact of consistent animal therapy on infant recovery rates. Luna's presence affects everything from stress hormones to sleep patterns, she explained to visiting medical teams. We're rewriting what we know about early intervention. The high school's new parent support program enabled Amy and others like her to continue their education. Hope spending days in the monitored nursery, where Luna now split her time between hospital and school. She's breaking cycles, the principal noted, watching the golden retriever guide a nervous father through his first diaper change, showing us how to turn crisis into opportunity. Sarah's phone rang constantly, now hospitals across the country, seeking guidance on implementing similar programs. Tell us about Luna, they would say, understanding that the gentle golden retriever had discovered something profound about healing, about connection, about the power of unconditional love to transform lives. The protocols they developed always starting with her example. I never thought I'd be here, Amy admitted during a quiet moment between classes, Hope practicing standing while holding Luna's fur for balance. 6 months ago, I was too scared to tell anyone I was pregnant. She watched her daughter laugh as Luna, gentle, licked her face. Now I'm helping write guidelines for other girls like me. Her college applications already submitted early decision, supported by glowing recommendations. Patricia had found her own role in the expanding program, her diner, becoming a safe haven where young parents could find both practical support and emotional understanding. Luna showed us what family really means, she said, watching her granddaughter thrive under the shared care of their unique community. It's not just about blood, it's about who shows up, who stays, who loves without judgment. The therapy dog training program grew carefully selected animals and handlers, learning from Luna's example. Watch how she anticipates needs, Sarah instructed, showing videos of Luna's work, how she creates safe spaces, how she guides without forcing, the Golden Retriever's methods becoming standard protocol. Her intuitive understanding of human vulnerability transforming into teachable moments. Hope's first birthday approached plans already underway for a celebration that would honor more than just her survival. It's about everyone who found hope through her story, Amy explained, while Luna supervised another group session about showing others there's always a way forward. The guest list, including social workers, police officers, medical staff, all touched by the miracle that had started in a cold alley. Local businesses had joined the support network, offering job training, flexible schedules, childcare. Assistance were not just helping individuals, the Chamber of Commerce president observed during a program review, we're strengthening our entire community, Luna's influence extending into policy changes that made it easier for young parents to build stable futures. Dr. Chen's research expanded, documenting how the presence of therapy animals affected not just physical recovery, but emotional resilience. Luna teaches us about healing beyond medicine, she explained, watching the Golden Retriever guide a young mother through postpartum anxiety. She shows us how to create environments where recovery happens naturally. Sarah found herself reflecting often on that winter night when Luna had first sensed Hope's cry, understanding. Now that they had discovered something profound about the nature of healing itself, sometimes love needs 4 legs. She told new program participants, sometimes the gentlest teachers have fur and wise eyes, while Luna demonstrated daily how tragedy could become transformation. Evening gatherings in the young mother's wing became celebrations of progress. Hope taking her first steps under Luna's watchful eye, Amy maintaining on her role while mastering motherhood. Patricia learning to trust her. Daughters growing wisdom, their story inspiring others to believe in possibilities beyond crisis. Luna taught us that every ending can be a beginning, Amy said, watching her daughter reach for the dog who had become their guardian angel as Hope slept peacefully in her mother's arms, Luna maintaining her gentle vigil. Sarah observed how far they had come in 6 months, how many lives had been touched, how many cycles broken, how much healing had happened, because one golden retriever had refused to let go of hope, understanding that sometimes the greatest changes started with the smallest acts of love. 1 year to the day after Luna's miraculous rescue, the hospital auditorium filled with people whose lives had been transformed by a golden retriever's love hope, now walking confidently, holding her mother's hand, while Luna watched with proud eyes. The ceremony to launch the Luna Foundation, bringing together everyone touched by their story of survival, healing, and hope. We've helped 53 young mothers this year, Amy announced from the podium, her voice strong and clear, so different. From the terrified teenager of 12 months ago, prevented 42 potential abandonment cases, she smiled down at Hope, who reached for Luna's fur. But the numbers don't tell the whole story. The golden retriever's tail thumped gently against the floor as if agreeing that some miracles couldn't be measured. Chen presented her research, now published in leading medical journals, documenting the Luna Protocol for integrative therapy in neonatal care. We've seen a 40% improvement in recovery rates, she explained, showing slides of Luna working with premature infants and a 60% reduction in postpartum depression among young mothers. The data supporting what their hearts had known all along about the healing power of unconditional love. Sarah watched as Luna moved through the crowd, offering comfort and connection to each person she passed, understanding that her gentle companion had become more than just a therapy dog. She had become a symbol of transformation. She sees the hope in everyone, Nurse Martinez observed, watching Luna guide a newly pregnant teenager toward Amy, just like she saw it that night in the alley. The foundation's scope extended far beyond their local community, now funding therapy, dog programs in hospitals across the country, training handlers to recognize the subtle signs Luna had taught them about infant distress. She's created a new language of healing, the program director explained, demonstrating how Luna's intuitive methods had been developed into teaching protocols. Patricia took the stage to announce the diner's transformation into a fully staffed community center for young parents. "We serve more than just meals now," she said, emotion catching in her voice. "We serve hope," the renovation, funded by donations from people touched by Luna's story. The space designed to continue the work of breaking cycles of crisis through practical support and unconditional acceptance. Detective Johnson returned wearing plain clothes, now retired from the force but serving on the Foundation's board. "Sometimes law enforcement needs to learn from love," he admitted. Watching Luna guide another perfect interaction between mother and child, she taught us that protection comes in many forms. The police department's new protocols for handling crisis pregnancies, reflecting lessons learned from Hope's rescue. Hope herself had become a symbol of possibility, thriving under the shared care of her unique family, reaching milestones that amazed her doctors, showing no signs of her traumatic beginning. "She's our miracle," Amy said, holding her daughter close. But Luna taught us that miracles don't have to be rare. The Foundation's work proving that with proper support and understanding, transformation could become commonplace. The ceremony included videos from other hospitals where Luna's influence had spread therapy dogs, now standard in NICUS across the country. Their handlers trained in the gentle methods she had pioneered. "She's changed how we think about healing," a doctor from Boston reported, showing footage of improved infant outcomes. "Showed us that medicine needs heart as much as science." Sarah's role had evolved too. Her expertise in animal-assisted therapy now sought internationally, but it all comes back to Luna, she explained, watching her faithful companion demonstrate once again the perfect balance of guidance and protection. She wrote the manual with her heart, the Golden Retrievers, methods becoming standard protocol, her intuitive understanding of human vulnerability transforming into teachable moments. As evening approached, Hope grew tired, curling up against Luna's warm fur while Amy shared their story with new program participants. The Golden Retriever's presence still creating safe spaces for truth-telling, still guiding broken hearts toward healing, still showing that love could transform any darkness into light. "She saved more than just my baby that night," Amy said softly. "She saved our future." The Foundation's next phase included scholarships for young parents, support for therapy, dog training programs, research funding for developmental studies. But most importantly, the hospital administrator announced, "It provides hope." Luna's ears pricked forward at the word that had become both name and mission. Her gentle eyes watching over the gathering with ancient wisdom, Patricia closed the ceremony with a simple truth. "One act of love can change everything," she said, watching her daughter and granddaughter flourish under Luna's protective care. But it takes all of us to keep that love growing, the Foundation's work ensuring that the miracle that had started in a cold alley would continue touching lives, offering second chances, creating spaces where healing could happen. As the crowd dispersed, Luna maintained her vigil, Hope sleeping peacefully against her, while Amy and Sarah discussed future plans, their voices soft with wonder at how far they'd come in just 1 year, understanding that sometimes the greatest miracles weren't the dramatic rescues, but the daily acts of love that followed the patient guidance toward healing, the gentle persistence of hope under the same stars that had witnessed that first desperate night. Luna kept her watch now not just over one infant, but over an expanding circle of healing, her influence rippling outward, touching life after life, proving that sometimes angels wore fur and carried heaven's light and gentle. Eyes that saw beyond circumstance to possibility, beyond tragedy to transformation, beyond endings to new beginnings. The morning sun painted the hospital's young mother's wing in shades of gold as Luna made her rounds, greeting each new day with the same gentle dedication that had transformed countless lives. Hope, now a vibrant toddler, following in her guardian. Angel's footsteps helping to welcome new mothers and babies into their expanding circle of healing. "She has Luna's heart," Amy observed, watching her daughter offer a stuffed puppy to a crying infant. Sarah paused in the doorway of her office, taking in the scene that had become both routine and miraculous, the space filled with young parents finding strength in shared experience, their children thriving under Luna's watchful eye. The Golden Retriever's influence evident in every detail, from the comfort rooms designed for skin-to-skin bonding to the therapy dog teams now standard in every department. "Remember when we thought one dog could only help so many?" Dr. Chen mused, joining Sarah with fresh research data. "Now look." She gestured to the walls lined with photos of lives, touched stories, transformed futures, reclaimed, each image telling part of the legacy that had started with a single act of love in a cold alley. Luna showed us that healing multiplies when given room to. Go. Amy had graduated high school with honors, now taking college classes while working part-time at the Foundation. Hope spending her days in the center's nursery, where Luna continued to train new therapy dogs. "She picks them," the trainers would say, watching the Golden Retriever guide younger dogs in her gentle methods, knows which ones have the right heart for healing. Her wisdom becoming part of the selection process. Patricia's community center had expanded to 3 locations each, offering the unique blend of practical support and unconditional acceptance that Luna had taught them. "We don't just feed bodies," she would say, watching her granddaughter play beneath tables while young parents shared meals and stories. "We feed hope." The model being replicated in cities across the country, each center carrying forward Luna's legacy of love, Hope's own story had become legend, but it was her daily presence that touched hearts most deeply, the way she naturally mimicked Luna's gentle approach to comfort, the instant connection she shared with new babies, the intuitive understanding she showed for others' pain. She learned from the best, Nurse Martinez would say, watching the toddler offer her own kind of therapy alongside. Her furry protector, the Luna Protocol, had revolutionized neonatal care, earning international recognition as hospitals worldwide adopted the integrated approach to healing. She taught us to see with our hearts, Dr. Chen explained to visiting medical teams, to understand that medicine works best when partnered with love. The data supporting what Luna had known all along about the power of gentle presence to transform outcomes. Sarah found herself reflecting on how far they'd come from that desperate night watching Luna guide another perfect interaction between mother and child, understanding that sometimes the greatest teachers came with fur and wise eyes, that some lessons could only be learned through love, that healing happened best when hearts opened to possibility. She changed everything, she whispered. Watching her faithful companion work, Detective Johnson now ran the police department's crisis intervention unit, training officers in what they called the Luna approach, emphasizing compassion over judgment, understanding over enforcement. She showed us a better way, he would say. Sharing Hope's story with each new class taught us that sometimes the best protection comes through love, his team's success rates, proving the wisdom of gentle intervention. Amy's own transformation remained perhaps the most profound, from terrified teenager to confident young woman, her voice now carrying authority in foundation meetings, her experience helping shape programs. Her future bright with possibility. Luna gave me more than a second chance, she would say, watching Hope and the golden retriever work their magic with new arrivals. She showed me how to give second chances to others. The Foundation's reach extended beyond their original mission, now funding research into human-animal bonds, supporting therapy dog programs in everything from prisons to psychiatric units. Each project carrying forward Luna's essential message about the healing power of unconditional love. She's created ripples that keep growing, Sarah observed, watching new programs develop new lives, transform new hope, take root. Hope herself continued to flourish, showing no traces of her traumatic beginning, her bond with Luna remaining something mystical, something that spoke of connections beyond ordinary understanding, something that reminded everyone who witnessed it that love could transcend circumstance, could heal wounds, could create miracles. They're two parts of the same soul, Hellmate would say, watching them work as evening settled over the wing. Luna made her final rounds of the day, checking each baby, offering comfort where needed most. Her presence still creating safe spaces for healing, still guiding broken hearts toward wholeness, still showing that sometimes the most powerful medicine came with fur and gentle eyes. Her legacy living on in every life touched, every tear dried, every heart opened to hope. Sarah watched her faithful companion settle into her favorite spot, Hope curled against her fur, Amy nearby studying for her child development class, Patricia arriving with dinner for the evening support group. The scene perfectly ordinary and absolutely miraculous, understanding that sometimes the greatest transformations happened not in dramatic moments, but in daily acts of love, in patient persistence, in gentle guidance toward healing. Luna's eyes met Sarah's, carrying the same wisdom that had led her to that alley on a cold winter night, the same love that had recognized hope in despair, the same gentle spirit that had shown them all how healing could multiply, how love could transform, how miracles could become everyday occurrences when hearts opened to possibility. Her legacy living on in every life, touched every future, reclaimed every hope restored. And so their story continued, not ending with rescue or recovery, or even recognition, but flowing onward like love itself, touching lives, healing hearts, creating spaces where miracles could happen. Daily, where hope could take root, where transformation could become not just possible, but natural. Their work guided always by the gentle wisdom of a golden retriever who had shown them that sometimes angels wore fur and carried heaven's light. In eyes that saw beyond circumstance to possibility, beyond tragedy, to triumph beyond endings, to eternal hope.